New York, and on the new Hot 97 app. Ebro in the morning on Hot 97.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Ebro in the morning. Laura Stiles. She's amazing. Jordan's looking fly.
You diss me even when I look good.
No, you
I've been watching the videos. I've looked all right recently. You still crush me.
Rosenberg.
I never dissed you for your outfits.
You should have. Some of them were awful.
I'm like, Ari Melber.
Yeah.
MSNBC's own.
Yes.
How are you today?
I'm very happy to be here.
We were just before we started this segment. You used a term I had never heard before. It was Trump bump.
Yeah, what is that?
What is that?
That is more people following the news, watching the news on television, subscribing to newspapers because of Donald Trump as the president.
So he has made America great again. He's improved media.
He has increased civic engagement.
Okay.
And some people say that would be because he's such an interesting
Compelling
chief content officer. Content seems to be the thing he's most interested in.
Right.
I think obviously a lot of other people would say, and something we cover on MSNBC, is how much his policies are impacting people, how much his very fickle approach to government. He doesn't seem to care about
you're
reversing
focused
himself.
on the wrong things over there at MSNBC. Let me tell you, right?
Okay.
You guys are taking Donald Trump serious. You actually believe that he should be doing his job, and that's where you're going wrong.
Yeah,
that's where you
why-
guys are botching the whole thing.
Yeah.
You got to focus on the Trump bump, what he is doing for your advertising, your advertisers, right? What he is doing for civic engagement. Right? People getting out. Midterm elections are on the way. You know, people are going to come out in droves. He has made America great again. Do you feel like he has fulfilled his promise? Ari Melber, say it right here for all of your fans.
Oh, you want
out
to get a
there.
big headline. You're trying to get a big headline.
Ari Melber says Trump is doing his damn thing.
He's fulfilling a promise, Ebro. There's a promise being fulfilled. And look, what's most fascinating about Donald Trump that everyone understands, whether you are interested in politics or not, is everyone understands a troll. Everyone understands a hater. Chappelle said it the moment after the election. We have elected a troll.
Yeah, an internet troll is president of the United States. Yep.
And his wife has nudes.
Okay, well,
She does.
you're not going to get Ari to jump into the nudes conversation.
No. That was part of it. Like the fact that we live in an era where the president is a troll and his wife has nudes like Kim Kardashian is amazing.
Right.
Now we could say it lowers the bar and it's terrible and standards, blah, blah, blah. But we're Americans and we need to focus on who we are as a people.
And this is who we are.
And this is who we
Well,
are.
all right. I don't want to keep quoting, but you're saying something that Ice Cube said during the campaign,
Talk
which
about
is people get Donald Trump. And he was talking about the Trump appeal. He wasn't saying he liked Trump because he argued Donald Trump is a boss, does what he wants, says what he wants, flies around in his plane, makes his money, dates who he wants, and
has kids with who he wants, marries who he wants.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that what you're
Sexually assaults who he wants.
Okay.
well, and that's a problem. That's, as alleged, a big problem. But the larger thing that's going on there, and the reason this is why he talks so much about Donald Trump politically correct culture, and tries to use that against people. Because what he's really saying to everyone is, what if we could all just do what we want and be like me and live like me and be a kind of a gangster, right?
Yeah.
And wouldn't that be appealing? A bully. And the problem with that is, you have to then look at it now and say, if you're living in Ohio, and this is democracy, people make up their own mind. Is this working out for you, or does he get to do what he wants? He doesn't play by the rules, but all the other rules affect you. Is this tax plan good for you? I mean, part of what we're reporting, and again, I don't make decisions for other people. I'm just one guy in a newsroom. But what we're reporting is, let's look at how it's working out. Is it working out for you? That's always the question in democracy.
The interesting thing that as you guys were both just speaking, made me think is like, Donald Trump is popular for the same reasons Ric Flair was popular. Except Ric Flair was a pro wrestler in the mid to late 80s, through the 80s, was seen as this glorious person you could look up to if you were sort of a regular schlubby guy. Right. You're like, this guy does, look at the robes, look at the women, look at the airplanes. But in the 80s, we went, well, it's great, it's fun, it's wrestling. Now we elected that same personality president of the United States. I mean, he's also in much worse shape than Ric Flair, not as charming or charismatic.
But I think there's an interesting conversation there, Rosenberg. And while I was, being just tongue-in-cheek and joking,
I think you were being you
and being myself. It is an indictment, once again, of us as American culture and our ability to draw a fine line between shit that's real and shit that's fake. And I don't think we've done a good job of that since the 80s with Reagan, when the TV president became a thing, when the way the president managed himself or herself in media, well, only himself so far, in media, and put on the entertainment and compelled people emotionally to the polls instead of compelling people and teaching people the issues that were important. We did that. Our politicians did that. We as a society responded to these things in a way that politicians saw was like, oh, if I want to get votes, I got to do X, Y, Z.
By the way, I think that remains true of Obama as well. He just happened to be a good man and a good president with that. But most people's attachment to Obama was sheerly emotional.
Yes.
That's most of the people we know who love Obama, and you say, well, tell me something you think he did great in the last 8 years. They don't know. They were attached emotionally.
They just felt great.
And it just so happened that he was a really competent politician as well. But he didn't have to be, and he might have still been elected. So aside from the fact that it's given you it's been a ratings bump for MSNBC, and I'm guessing Fox News would have probably had a huge bump had Hillary become president. How else has it affected your job day to day? Are things busier? Is it a more action-packed newsroom?
No, I don't think things are busier. It's the same.
Yeah, every day there's more news, nonstop.
You can make a list of real things. I think one of the challenges in this era is, as you were just saying, Ebro, to separate the fake from the real, because there are a lot of efforts to just have us follow the bouncing ball. So his tweets and his drama and his fights, and he said over 5 different times he was going to do one thing on DACA, on undocumented immigrants and dreamers, and then reverse it and back and reverse it. You know, he's flipping it and reversing it a lot, like more than Missy, like just constantly flipping it and reversing it.
I knew he was going to do that.
You knew flip it, reverse it?
Flip it and reverse it.
You saw it coming.
Yeah.
It's a bad sign, though, if you saw it coming.
Nah, but that's only because you do hip-hop references. I know you like hip-hop.
So at a certain point, it's like, oh my God, Donald Trump tweeted, he reversed the Dreamers policy again. No, he didn't. He just tweeted. He said it. It's not real. And so I try very much on The Beat, on our show, not to follow that. Whereas, to your question, what's busier? No one's ever fired an FBI director out of the blue in the middle of their term before. That's never happened. And he did it while his people were under criminal investigation. That is a huge problem. That's not a tweet. And that is a big deal. And if that gets normalized, right? Just like him calling countries shitholes or all these other things that go to the kind of society we want to live in, that's a problem too. So our job is to keep our eye on the ball and also explain, and this is what, because we get it wrong. The only difference between journalists and other people, if we do our job right, is we come back around and explain when we get it wrong, right?
That's the good ones.
I said if we do our job right.
Yeah,
so because we are going to make mistakes too. My audience doesn't think I don't make mistakes, but I hope they think, or if I can prove it to them, that when we get something wrong on the show, we come back the next night and say, let me correct that, right? Or let me explain and update the story as we get it. That's what the project we're in. And so as we do that with him, you have to say, this is everything that he's doing that affects you, and some of it is really never happened before.
Do you think he has a good chance of getting reelected?
Absolutely.
That's honestly your gut, is that he would. Rachel said the same thing when she was here last. I think she said it off the air actually, but she said that she assumes he'll be reelected as well.
I mean, if Rachel's talking to you off the air, I think that's like Drake talking to you off the air, like that's special. I don't know that comes out on the air.
Ooh. Sorry, Rachel.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
but do you really think that?
What was the level of the emotion in her voice? Because I know that's something that you become an expert in.
She sounded Canadian. That's how upset she was. She was like,
"Oh, when that cell phone rings later with Rachel Maddow on the other end,
Rosenberg, I thought we were friends."
We're just like, I'm trying to do a good thing, and you're turning it into a bad thing.
What did you think of the Drake video? Let's go there.
Can I say one more thing too about Rosenberg?
Yes.
Because you can edit it. This is
we'll edit whatever we want, but we won't
edit me out.
We won't. But go ahead.
You can edit me out.
No.
So I love you guys.
No disclaimers. Go.
So Rosenberg's right on that line between fan and stan.
Yeah.
And I think that's what actually animates a lot of what's going on with you.
With regard to Drake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because a fan loves it.
Okay.
But a stan loves it so much, but if their love is not acknowledged, it can curdle.
Like in the song. Like
and they
in the
feel
song.
spurned.
Yes.
Yeah.
But okay.
Wow, this is a big.
But listen,
Ari Melber says Rosenberg is a stan.
So you think
I said on the line.
So you think I'm secretly on the line of being such a fan of Drake that it hurts me that he doesn't acknowledge me?
Not Drake per se. Drake is Drake is the touchstone whereby we see this part of you.
Wow.
And I think it's the culture. No, I don't think it's you're obsessed
It's not
with.
just Drake specifically.
No, but I think it's
acknowledgement.
No, that's not true because you said that it bothered you. You acknowledged that it bothered you.
This is unraveling.
Yeah, no, but this is an interesting.
No,
I'm not. No, I'm not.
It's an interesting take. It's an interesting take because what he's doing is he's reading past just what I say on the surface, and he's seeing someone who's, why are you so hurt about these things? Because everyone called me out for being hurt about it, and I did acknowledge it. But maybe he's right. Maybe Drake is that line of, if I don't feel accepted by Drake, do I in some ways not feel accepted by hip hop? Because he is the biggest artist in hip hop.
Now we're getting somewhere. You want to talk about it now? Do you feel accepted by hip hop?
At times.
See?
At times I don't.
See?
So maybe Drake does represent
Drake is the touchstone.
How did you feel about the video, the God's Plan video? Be honest.
I thought we were talking about Rosenberg.
Don't
You didn't
try
like
to
it.
tag
You didn't
that.
like it. You didn't like it.
Be
I feel like you felt
honest.
similar to my original
Be
take.
honest.
So I'll tell you exactly what I felt.
Okay.
Okay.
When you do a beautiful thing, or a spiritual thing, or a giving thing, it is done. It is that thing. It is as real as the thing, unless we find out, oh, it didn't happen. It did happen. It's a beautiful thing. When you then take that thing, which is beautiful, let's stipulate that it's a good thing. When you add to it a presentation or transaction, you have added a new layer to the thing. That's just true. I mean, that's just a true thing. So here's a beautiful thing that you are now layering into a transaction, a promotion. And it can be both things. So let's broaden from hip hop because people always, hip hop is like sex. It melts people's brains and they stop using the logical mechanisms.
They're emotional about it.
Yeah. So part of the job I end up at charity events in New York. I have emceed the charity galas, which is an honor to do, and you meet these interesting people and you see all of it in this once a year thing. And all of these people who have all kinds of money that I've never seen, that I never grew up with, are there. And the money they're giving away is great. It is a good thing. I can't imagine. I've been to them for a refugee gala I did last year, and I can't imagine someone coming along and being like, giving this money to these refugees. No, it's great.
It's a beautiful thing.
But the people there who are not Drake, who have been doing it longer than Drake, who have been having money longer than Drake, generational money, they also want their God's Plan video. They also want to be at the dinner, and they also want to be in the photos. And it doesn't undermine the charity, but it becomes more promotional and transactional. So that was my observation about it. Not that it's bad. It doesn't curdle into bad,
layered.
but it is layered. Why are you looking at me like that?
Well,
I'm just laughing because I wanted you to say it. Because listen, I didn't completely disagree with Rosenberg, okay? Because if there's one thing that irks me is like, I hate seeing people going to other countries, and I've seen it recently where they're filming themselves giving to poor people, like capturing them at their worst times. Like, to me, it's like, that's unnecessary. Doing the deed is beautiful, of course. And on this particular video, listen, did I shed a little tear? Yes. Did I get emotional? Yes, because I've been there before. My family struggled coming up.
But yeah, but you were not as emotional as Rosenberg.
Well, no, it was a different type of emotion
well, I think
that I had.
I think for many people it's tough because it's something nice is happening, and it's tough. As many people said, I can't hate on that. Meaning, I cannot put negative energy on something beautiful.
Words
that's
I've never said. Never seen something I can't hate on.
But there was many people like, I can't hate on that.
Yes.
I can't hate on this, even though, which to me also said you don't want to because it's a
great
beautiful
deed.
thing. It's a
And
great
that's
thing.
great.
Yeah.
However, what we unpacked on the air was the fact that, as you pointed out, the transactional part, the presentation part, maybe the way it was presented as him just driving around in a golf cart, jumping out and being like, voila, was the distasteful part, when maybe it could have been a video of him just celebrating with people we had never seen before.
Ibra, real quick.
And the video was dedicated to people in need or whatever, but we didn't know per se. He was just partying out of school. And
so I watched it again yesterday. My wife hadn't seen the video. Literally, through all this stuff, she'd heard about it in our conversation.
So I just want to be clear. He's just at home just rewatching the video.
Yeah. Yesterday I did. Well, I pull up YouTube, right? So when you pull up YouTube, and Alexa likes to sometimes watch Hot 97 stuff to see every blue moon what I do, because she doesn't see a lot of it, but every blue moon. And so Hot 97 was in our search terms. So then Drake's God's Plan's recommended. So I was like, oh, you haven't seen this. Let's watch it. So that was the second time I watched it, was yesterday. And my wife is hilarious. And the first thing she said was, "This is beautiful. What kind of monster are you?" was her direct quote to me. And she was like, "I'm about to cry. This is awesome." And I watched it again, and I was like, I really do. There are things I really like about it. Plus, I think it's one of his best songs in a long time, right? So I really like it. There's like, if he removes like 5 shots, it removes the feeling I have.
I think that is eliding the core issue. And
yes,
now
the presentation. The presentation.
But now then you're having a cultural aesthetic conversation, which, as you said on the air, is not what any of you or I or most of us fans are here to do, which is to re-edit the work. I mean, they did the work.
Right. We just judge what we see.
Right.
And there's that part, the one part when he takes the stack. He takes a stack of cash and hands it over. That's the part when, if you were like monitoring my brain, there would have been a visceral, like, nauseous response that I didn't like. Here's what I'm saying about that's eliding it rather than addressing it. In other words, you could have an even more nuanced way to do what I'm calling the beautiful thing and promote it and make it look less promotional. But all that really does, and this happens in politics all the time, because all they're doing is fronting for their different interest groups, right? All that is a more smooth version. It's a better optic.
Of the same underlying issue. And the underlying issue is, are you ready for it?
Here we go.
Maimonides' ladder of charity. And the highest on the ladder is anonymous gift, anonymous recipient. Because then the recipient doesn't feel the debt to any particular individual, and they can live out the charity. But that Maimonides, this is, Talmudic Jewish shit, says the lowest on the ladder is the giver is known and the recipient is known. Because now the recipient has to feel, that has to be put on blast. That's how Maimonides put it.
Yes, he did. I remember that.
The recipient has to be put on blast for the receipt of the charity, and the giver has to give the charity. But Maimonides would tell us, if we want to learn from that, and that's just one view, there's many views, that lowest ladder on the ladder is still worth giving.
Yes.
Right? And so when we have a conversation about how to edit the video, now I think we're getting away from what you were really raising, and what you raised was valuable because it's part of the important conversation. It affected what in our business we call the principal. The principal got involved and wanted to talk to you about it, and then you have the wider conversation. So that to me is a good thing, but I understand why people who are like, in a world of so much hate and so much negativity, something that's broadly beautiful, why is there even a negative reaction?
People every day are looking for some humanity.
Yes.
People every single day, and even on a terrible day, the amount of times I see these guys unplug and just go look at pet videos. Like, literally, like,
Guilty.
Don't want to deal with it, I'm going to look at puppies. Right?
Well, or it comes up on the timeline. I mean.
But I'm just saying, that's your guy's way of looking for something warm in a world that's super
So you mean
cold.
like he watches that early Snoop Dogg video where Snoop turns into the dog and back? Is that the type of video you're talking about?
They get together and giggle like schoolgirls looking at corgis.
It's like corgis.
Okay,
like,
I misunderstood.
You know,
But you're teaching
corgi
me.
and a skateboard. You know.
By the way, I have there's about, if I'm being honest, there's probably like 3 or 4 close friends of mine in my network of dogs who I send, who I'll be like, I'll at you, this wrestler Nia Jax, my wife, just a few people who I know. It makes us happy. All women. Yeah, it is all women who get really excited. But Ebro, here's the Ari that I thought was interesting. You brought up overall what that conversation did, and it's funny because Twitter will tell you, how dare you have the conversation? You're an asshole. You're a hater. You're a negative person. The net of the conversation ended up being us getting to some nuance about what really great charity looks like, the fact that it was really good but maybe could have been even slightly better, and I think the reach of the video being even bigger because the conversation was even bigger.
Well, you guys
there
know
was
this.
no net negative.
It was God's plan.
It was God's plan. Someone did send me a funny meme yesterday. Someone sent me this meme that said, Rosenberg, you'll like this. And it was like, me. It's like one of those stupid things where it says like me, something, me. And it's like, me, or the Chipotle, your total's $4.75. Me, here's $5. Keep the change. God's plan video starts playing.
Okay. All right.
That's terrible.
And I was like, yes, that's where we're at.
So, Ari, congratulations on your success and transition into being every night from weekends and I heard you say you're from Seattle.
Yes.
How long you been in New York?
Just over a decade.
You're enjoying your time here?
Yeah.
How are you enjoying the conversation around the NRA, AR-15s, and where we are today post this high school shooting?
Well, I think it's fascinating that we are in a period of conservative Republican control of every branch of government. They can do what they want or not do what they want as a matter of controlling the government, and yet we're still seeing tremendous pressure, bottom up, I think, on what is the NRA status quo, that you shouldn't regulate any guns and actually should make it easier for all kinds of people to get guns who obviously are a public safety threat. I mean, that's really the position. Yes. And I know you guys have been talking about it on your show. So that tells you something. That tells you that just being in control is not enough. And you have corporations. I mean, just this week, you have a fight going on with major Fortune 100 companies that are saying, well, they don't want to be co-signing onto the NRA agenda anymore. You've got sporting goods stores pulling the sales.
Dick's
pulled out.
That's
sorry?
I mean, never mind.
Whoa.
Continue, Ari. I apologize.
Pulled out the sport.
And Dick's Sporting Goods store pulled out of the sale of AR-15 weapons. Shorthand, longhand. I understood what you were saying.
Yes, yeah, totally.
But so and the reason I asked it that way and I said enjoying is because while none of us are enjoying what's happening to families and all of that, I think there is what you're saying, right? The fact that there clearly in America is the power of the people, right? And the pressure that people can apply when there is a focused a fury around something. And I fear that the word guns gets thrown out too much, right? Because I'm not an anti-gun guy, right? I am you got too many guns, what the fuck is wrong with you guy? I am a fam. You're not going to go out on your porch like John Rambo with your AR and take out the government. So why do you need all these assault rifles, guy? Let's have some sensible talk. And I fear that some of the young people from Parkland and other people around the country are just saying gun control, gun control, gun control. How can people and is the mainstream media getting focused on specifics around the items that are really crazy out here?
I mean, I think you put your finger on it. There are places and states that have limited certain assault-style weapons. Those are, we know statistically, what contribute to some of the most high-impact mass shooting events. So they turn what would be a low fatality incident that is still a tragedy into a super high fatality incident. So it's one piece of it. I think that conversation is beginning because, as you see, what the corporations are saying is not that they want to be anti-gun. I mean, guns are super popular. One stat to keep in mind is the majority of voters in America come from a gun-owning household, myself included. So that's what you're talking about, right?
Jewish gun-toting parents.
Toting, it's that we were running around the city with it.
How many? One.
Two
different guns.
What type, though? See, this changes. And see, this is why I say I'm not anti-gun.
Right.
Some people might just have a rifle or a shotgun.
Yeah, rifles.
Not
rifles.
like a handgun.
2 rifles for hunting?
Hunting rifles.
Hunting rifles. Got it. Okay.
Rosenberg with the follow-up. That's what
He's
we do.
being judgy Jewy, though. He was being judgy Jewy.
Well, I'm just curious. I'm trying to picture it.
Really? Gun-toting Jew. Talk to me more.
I was totally judging. He changed momentarily, and maybe permanently in my mind when he said it.
Is that right?
I don't know if I know. I mean, the amount of gun-owning Jews that I've known in my life, it's a small number. I know they're there. I'm not from a state with a lot of hunting, though.
This is why they're like, I don't want to put our personal stuff out there, but like, one of the issues is like, because I was invited to Drake's bar mitzvah and Rosenberg wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was very cool at the time that I came from a gun-owning house.
Well, he brought his gun. He was like, "Who wants to come out to the car?" My mom brought her gun.
I'm playing. Sometimes I do really bad jokes on the news, which is even like there's even less space for jokes. And then imagine a bad joke.
Right.
And the guests will just look at you
Well, because it's MSNBC, so who's anticipating humor?
Right. But why does it have to be so narrow?
It doesn't.
Right.
But it usually is.
Yeah. So to be clear, I wasn't invited to Drake's bar mitzvah. I don't want to be making a joke that turns into a false claim.
But
the gun is real. The bar mitzvah was fake and the gun is real.
Can you talk about, I saw a headline about the Second Amendment not applying to AR-15s. Can you
I think that was a tweet of yours.
Was it a tweet?
Yeah, we did a special report on this on the beat, and I tweeted about that's piece, which we do a lot. So it's like, here's the headline, here's the legal fact, and you can dig in if you want more. Look, this is one of the most important frauds that corrupts this debate. there is a Second Amendment. It does, according to the Supreme Court, provide a limited right to guns in the home and to bear arms. But it has never, I repeat, never been established to explicitly protect the right to these assault-style weapons. Moreover, there are several states that have limited these assault-style weapons, and when pro-gun groups appealed to the Supreme Court and said, wait, we want to say the Second Amendment would overturn those bans, the court didn't even hear the case. That's worse than being rejected. They didn't what's called granting cert. They just said, we're not even hearing this case, so those laws are on the books. So there is no established Supreme Court Second Amendment right to these style weapons. And yet, so often you hear people say, Second Amendment, Second Amendment, Second Amendment. We played in the report I did when Ted Cruz was asked about this. And by the way, people can have a right to any policy position, right? Defend it. Defend why it's so important to you that these type of weapons, when we see the damage they're doing and we see who's using them in public, right? It's not police officers that are generally on their private time running around saving a life with the AR-15 off duty. That's not the story. That's not the fact. We're seeing people abuse and use them, right? A lot of politicians, a lot of people in general, go to a barbecue, go to a coffee shop and talk about it. People don't want to really defend that, so they start talking about the Second Amendment, right? It's one of those things that happens. And this part of it, according to the Supreme Court, according to law, and I'm a lawyer, has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. So you have to take people back to actually know, why don't you explain to me why it's so important to have the AR-15? Same with the gun background checks. I mean, the Republican Congress, you guys talked about this on your show, I saw, did make it easier for people who have mental challenges, mentally disturbed, and who are on the terror fly list to get a gun.
But what's the logic
so that has nothing to do
behind
with that has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. Again,
It has everything to do with more gun sales. Just like arming teachers has everything to do with government contracts to be able to sell overpriced guns and training classes and certifications and licenses that they can make a whole revenue stream off of.
And so it's very hard. And I see this because, and look, I worked for 2 U.S. senators. I've been in and around politics for a little while. It's very hard if you're positioned because of, as you say, because you're trying to please a corporation that sells guns or make a political deal. It's very hard, though, even then, even in a very pro-gun district, to get up and say, you know those people who are so dangerous, we won't let them on the plane with their bare hands? That's how dangerous they are. Mm-hmm. We won't let them on the plane. But I want to help some of those people get their hands on guns. That's a hard position to take anywhere. So what they end up saying is, well, to me, it's about the Second Amendment. And maybe the Second Amendment means we have to protect some things we don't like, which is a kind of a constitutional argument, right? It's like, I'm for the First Amendment, which means I will defend the right of a Nazi to march through Brooklyn because that's what the First Amendment countenances, right? But this isn't that. This isn't one of those bad things you have to live with because, again, in closing, the Supreme Court has never said the Second Amendment means the terror watch list can't be used to regulate guns or you can't have ARs.
So isn't I think part of it is what Ebro's saying. I think the big play for the teachers thing, it would end up benefiting the NRA and the gun world long term. So I think that's why that conversation started. But isn't some of the aggressive stances against gun control really about what every political debate is about in this country, which is if you're on a certain side of an issue and there's a nuanced law that affects one piece of it, you have to go against that. You have to broadly be against everything. So even to flip it on the side of people who are, and I don't want to give our political leanings away, but people who may be on our side of issues, right? If it was an argument about abortion and there was a stance about like very late term abortions where the four of us might all say, you know, I'm absolutely pro-choice, but I don't know, at 8 months and 3 weeks, I don't know. Right. There are people who would still be like, no, we don't want any laws, ever, nothing. And that's one of the biggest political problems we have, isn't that all part of the same thing, that no one will ever step into something that could in any way limit what their cause is?
It's called being sensible.
It goes right back to that.
So, yes, there are people who are not sensible, not logical, overly emotional, crazy.
But I just feel like this is something that it prevents us as a country from ever getting anywhere because no one wants to have gray conversation. So if you're a gun person, you're against every like the story I told you about.
It's like when we take calls, or we haven't really, but I mean, I saw on social media, I thought about taking calls, but I knew it was going to get to. Like, call right now and tell us why you need an AR-15. Most people are going to say, because I can.
Right. We had a caller who
Have
said
you
it
ever
just
shot
because
one?
I wanted one.
Me, no.
No.
No. Never shot a gun.
I shot an AR-15 at a range. How does that relate to your vision of my Jewish family.
Again, I continue to question everything. It's all a lot of questions.
And you ask because.
I ask why, because when you actually let off a round of an AR, the feeling, the power, the exhilaration that runs through your whole body, right? It is like trying a kind of a drug. And you can see why some people will go, oh, I want that feeling, or I want that again. And then you can also see why, by the same token, what is the society? If policy is, are we getting this right when we think about our priorities, our values? What kind of society do we want? That's what democracy is about, right? As Migos said, democracy, you want to copy me.
That's exactly no. That's what they meant.
That's what they meant, obviously. Then you say that's the benefit, right? That gave me a buzz.
Yeah.
And how many people can responsibly handle that buzz? And is it 1 out of 1,000 or 1 out of 100,000 or 1 out of a million that combined with what else is going on in their life can't handle that? Because you let off those rounds, it is just decimation. And then you say, so the benefit is, this is what I'm saying as policy. The benefit is like way low, right? One person gets off or whatever. And the cost, I can't think of a higher cost than making it that easy for someone with no training on the worst day of their life to go in and murder that many children. I can't. I mean, that is, and that's why people don't want to talk about that. So you're right. When people call in, or some people, they don't. That's a hard conversation to have. So it goes back to the Second Amendment. It goes back to other dodges. I do think, if you're asking me, am I someone who believes in the power of rational democracy? Absolutely. I think as this continues and we deal with the facts, I think it's possible there'll be change.
I love that with guns. Because by the way, I'm not as nuanced as you are. I'm anti-gun. I don't understand guns.
You can't be. You like Smith & Wesson. You like Mobb Deep. You
Facts.
like MOP.
I like
you
gun
like
talk.
50 Cent.
Fantasyland, I do like gun talk. But the best thing about guns is the best defense. If you get down to the core and you go, well, let's be rational. I want to defend guns. Hunting, of course. The only way to defend it. This is the best thing you can argue.
An AR for hunting.
Is but the best. But
That is
Ebro,
not even
your
hunting.
best case scenario for arguing a gun for hunting is to go, well, listen, I need it. I need it so I can kill furry, cute animals while they run around. That's the best thing you can argue. The best thing you have is shooting a doe while it's running. We need it. That's your best you got?
Listen,
Or I needed to defend my home, because in defending your home case, we know that just isn't a fact. Statistically, guns bought to defend homes end up hurting people in homes.
The guns I was
not
trained
defending
to get
homes.
are the ones that you let off one time and everyone stops what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that any gun pretty much?
No, there's some that feel like sound like BB guns or whatever, but there's some that you let off, they're cannons.
Right,
and
right.
everyone goes, oh, he's got one of those. Let's stop what we're doing. Those are the guns that I was trained that you're supposed to have, because that's what you don't want to have to use it. You don't. But the idea is to not use it.
Exactly. Well, that's such a weird thing to sit and even talk about the defense of why we need it. We need this item that we should hopefully never ever need to use.
Well, it was why people created a nuclear weapon, isn't it?
No, and by the way, like, it depends where you live at. So if you live in a rural part of Idaho and the nearest law enforcement authority is an hour away, forget hunting. What stands between you and the intruder is the gun or your self-defense skills, and that's it. And that peace of mind. Sometimes people aren't buying. What is insurance, right? Sometimes some people buy it because they really do the cost-benefit analysis. Other people do the peace of mind. Some people buy life insurance just because they love their family so much, and this is how life insurance sales people can really get your premium up. They love their family so much, they're like, but have you thought about, think about it right now. Let's really take you, imagine the family's got, what are they going to do? And so you really need to get the gold life insurance policy, but they're also buying peace of mind. So that's why some people need that gun in their room. The question is, do they need the gun at the end of Scarface in their room?
Right.
And do they need 20 of them?
Hello.
Well, and do you need the gun in your room if you're not 50 miles from a police station, but 6 blocks from 2 police stations, and you're in a really safe neighborhood, and you have a doorman in your building? Like, there's so many.
Right, but I'm saying, but if we're talking about the country and the policy, we're talking about most people don't have the doorman in their building, so that's as irrelevant as a tax bracket that they're not in. So it's irrelevant to them.
But in my world, living that far from a police station is relevant.
Right,
That
but
idea to
one
me
of the
is
biggest problems that we have, back to your thing as a country and us getting to the gray, is people only think about their world.
True.
And so you can play both sides.
No, the second you bring that up, I'm like, oh, that is a good point. You might want to have a gun.
But that's
if
part
no
of our
one's
problem
around.
is the fact that, like, even us who are like, there's no way that people are going to let this reality TV guy be the fucking president. Like, why would they do that? Even the theys, the power that be, why would they lower the bar to this fucking schlub loser who's all he has to say for himself is that he's wanted to be cool his whole life and he inherited a bunch of money? Why would they let him be president? We weren't in touch with what was going on in middle America. We weren't in touch with the fact that a lot of people out here are like, yo, fuck the government. They're not doing shit for me. My jobs are drying up. We just had tried this other thing. Let's try something else.
Oh, and by the way,
What the fuck else I got to lose?
And by the way, we hate black people
Well, and then that.
because you can't miss that.
Well, no, but then then that. Like, oh, this is easy. I just had a black boss for a long time. I never wanted to have a black boss. Fuck that guy. I need a guy that looks like me. There's that too.
Well, he didn't like it, and he didn't like Obama. He didn't think America should have a black boss. I also didn't think that. So this is easy.
Right. Speaking of Donald Trump, let's go to Donald Trump, Russia collusion. And the whole investigation, right? So now 13 Russian companies and hackers and blah, blah, blah has been indicted. Is it indicted?
Yeah, indicted.
Indicted.
Mm-hmm.
It's come out, in several different ways how much Kushner or this one or that one around Donald Trump has been involved in visiting Russia, exchanging money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's tons of conspiracy theories. Do you believe Donald Trump will be impeached?
No. I'm not in the prediction business.
Okay.
But here's how I can give you my best take for what it's worth.
Don't cover the bottom of the mic. It messes up the signal, by the way, but go ahead.
Spit your bars.
I know you.
To be clear, I don't really know my way around a mic. You know what I'm saying? And I don't get 5 mics. I have one mic and I don't even know how to use it.
Right. Sad.
Okay.
All you need is one mic.
Yeah.
Well done. That was very Ari Melber of you.
That was was just well done. In American history, there has never been the forcible removal of a president. So
does that fall in line with the marketing idea that they never want to set that precedent? America's too great, like it's too much. We have our shit together so much that we would never fuck this up.
Well, I'll tell you two things. One, when the Congress has reached the point of such an existential clash with the president, based on the only two ways that happens, there are high crimes, or there is the environment wherein one side wants to believe there were high crimes, right? It's like anything. It's like you cross me or I think you cross me at a certain point. That's a very similar conflict, unless we can work it out and change each other's minds. In those two scenarios, if I'm simplifying to high crimes, right, you have the Johnson impeachment and he was acquitted by 1 vote in the Senate. You have the Clinton impeachment, and he was easily acquitted in the Senate because even the Senate Republicans, at the end of the day, they were like, we knew this was all, like, how do we get off this train? Because we knew this was overdone. And they were punished by the voters for it. And then, of course, you have the Nixon example where there was the credible threat of impeachment, which led to him resigning from office, right? So
and let's focus on that because you said there's never been a forcible removal. In that Nixon scenario, do we know, historians, whatever, that he resigned because they never wanted to set that precedent?
He resigned.
There was a forcible.
I think so. Those are 3 impeachment scenarios. 2 where, because what is people kind of forget sometimes, like if you're not super into studying the Constitution, impeachment is the House charging. That's the
Not the removal.
prosecutor, and removal is the Senate convicting. Right? That's how you think about it, right? So, the House says, Bobby Shmurda, we're hitting you with these 10 counts. Like, you have a problem, right? And then the Senate is the jury.
Did you just compare Donald Trump and Bobby Shmurda?
No.
Oh.
I didn't, because I'm just speaking constitutionally about the system.
Well, he likes Bobby Shmurda, so.
I'm just saying to pick any defendant. You could pick OJ. You could pick a controversial
Donald
defendant.
Trump is the Bobby Shmurda of presidents.
You're saying that. I would say he hasn't been charged with anything. I mean, as a legal reporter, that's how I would put it at this juncture.
I mean, at this point, Donald Trump has been found in the studio with his comrades and them having a bunch of shit going on.
Yeah.
Whether or not Bobby Shmurda had anything to do with the shit going on, he was found in the studio.
Wow, you're really pulling it together.
I think
with his comrades.
Yes.
Comrade, key.
And there was guns.
I think you make an apt legal comparison, which is there a RICO conspiracy element to this? Because, again, I'm not letting anyone off the hook. I report these stories out. Donald Trump's number 2 on the campaign, Rick Gates, pled guilty to a felony.
Yes.
Donald Trump's national security advisor, his top guy for foreign policy security, pled guilty to a felony. Donald Trump's number 1 guy in the campaign chief Paul Manafort, 32 counts. That is very felonious as a set of charges. We'll see what happens.
That's a lot of counts.
It's a lot of counts.
Even if they end up with 10.
Right. So that now, does that implicate the top guy or not? That has yet to be determined. So legally, I would just say he's not Schmurda because he's not charged. But you're asking about the House and the Senate. That's how that works. And so in the Nixon case, it was the credible threat of conviction, of that removal by the Senate, that made him leave. So that was his choice. The other point that is a contrast here, which I think people will get, your listeners get, is Nixon was a crook, but he was also an institutionalist. So he did all these bad things, but then when it came time to deal with the Supreme Court, which overruled his claims, I can keep everything secret, and then the institution of Congress saying, you got to go, after all that, he left. Now, I can't tell you whether Donald Trump...
To protect the institution.
An institutionalist, or at least to live with and react to the fact that, wow, these institutions, I have to respect that. Donald Trump, I can't say legally whether he's a crook. He hasn't even been charged with anything, but I can tell you, he's obviously not an institutionalist.
No. You don't say.
So that complicates it.
I read a theory, a conspiracy theory, and I call it conspiracy theory. Even it's light. It's light. Where at this point, with everything that's been, the Russians indicted, all the convos, all the people accused of felonies, et cetera, going as far as, did Russia actually make fake votes? Go into districts and vote, fake votes in the proper places to make sure the electorate went where it went. Did that happen? Could it have happened? And even if it did, the Constitution doesn't even have a response for a do-over. And so our country currently doesn't have the ability, even if it was found out, to go, this whole thing is fucked up. We need a do-over. We don't have that. We have the impeachment process. Right. We don't have the do-over process. Yeah. And so our society and politicians or whatever wouldn't even be able to manage the fact that we don't even have that in place.
Right.
So instead of walking down that path, let's just figure out how to unwrap this shit systematically over 1 term or 2 terms and be a better country because we went this low, I guess.
That's right. There's no remixes in the Constitution, right?
Shame.
It's just the first track, right? You don't get to add back onto
Diddy,
it.
where you at, son? You invented the remix.
Diddy comes in.
Diddy bops in with the constitutional remix.
Harlem Shake.
Right? You're like, what if we put 112 on this? Would it change? Like,
Let's work. Let's work.
So
I told you.
So that's
Take that. Take that. I'm sorry.
Well, you don't want to say take that next to Donald Trump because
Hey,
when he says that,
He means something else.
sorry.
So that's real in terms of, you're talking about there isn't a way to undo things. There is this safety valve of the Electoral College, which at least gives you some time between the vote and the actual finishing of it. And there is the fact that if things don't work out and are contested, then ultimately you have this vote in the House. So
Didn't the Electoral College fail us then, though?
Well, that's a different. All I'm saying is the founders did put in a couple safety valves, but they don't have, as you said, they don't have a do-over. They don't have a remix. Our intelligence agencies, and a lot of pressure and reporting has been put on this, and a lot of leaks have come out. There has not been evidence of actual changed votes. And I'd add that, I mean, the founders did a lot of weird things. I'm just talking structurally. I mean, they were these brilliant people for their time, but they were obviously also sexist and racist and of their time. But when they built the system, they did these amazing things. One of the things they did was have a completely decentralized national election, right? Which is why you could have a longer line in Ohio than in Florida, and you have all these weird problems. And there are problems to it. I think we all know about them. But one of the good things is it's very hard to fix a national election. It would be very hard, given all of the local boards of control, to do that, even just technologically, let alone to do it and have no fingerprints. I would argue the opposite of the conspiracy theory. The Russians did this, as Jim Comey put it, loudly. There's a lot of digital fingerprints. I don't think you can move around that many votes and have nobody notice and nobody leak it. We live in a leak world, a WikiLeaks world. So my question of, is that a likely theory? I think it's less likely.
But you will say, is it likely that the way we're set up today, and for I call it the American marketing scheme, right? Like the marketing scheme of America is there's always hope, there's always a new day. We'll figure out a way. Ingenuity, as you pointed out, the founding fathers. We have this grand marketing scheme that to actually go and point this problem out in our Constitution is something that we do not want.
Yes, you're hitting to the real. Rick Ross said some things are deeper than rap.
That's right.
Yeah,
you're getting to the depth that people don't want to go to. We could do it right now.
We do it on the program.
We do.
That's one
true.
of my favorite things to talk about.
Right. What you're talking about is inside, underneath what we're actually living through. Not only is it some kind of accident, right? Some kind of, to a lot of people, tragic accident. But on the big questions, does this system that we're using, that's probably unchangeable if you were going to try to get enough states to agree to amend the Constitution.
And still maybe one of the best on earth.
Sure, I think so. But does this system not really work anymore? Because I just gave some props to the founders, but they could not have understood
Twitter?
The geographic Twitter. No,
short-sighted.
No,
classic short-sighted.
No vision.
They didn't understand and could not have.
John Hancock, you want to sign all big? Why didn't you think about fucking Instagram?
Yeah.
They didn't anticipate how much the geographic migrations and the reorganizing of where people live has taken something that at one point made a little, in the old days with 13 colonies, the electoral college idea made a little difference and it gave the states a little more of a check. They had no idea that we would be on the regular, on the regular, having national elections where most Americans pick this person and the other person becomes president. That happened in 2000. Everyone was like, damn, like people got mad, but you just lived with it. And that guy served 8 years. And then here we are. It hasn't been that long. It just happened again. Plus there might have been funny stuff. Bob Mueller says there was illegal stuff, and it just happened again, and it wasn't as close as 2000. 3 million more people picked the other person, and the person who comes in second. Like all these conversations about how Donald Trump's so popular in his base, and it's like, wait, because Ebro's talking about what's really underneath. You're like, I thought I remember how he wasn't that popular because more people did prefer the other person because the national polls were right. But this electoral college in this Constitution, we are stuck with it. Reforming it is very difficult because it requires a supermajority that, again, founders like John Adams not understanding what was going to happen on the gram, didn't see that coming.
Not understand what happened on the gram. They didn't necessarily understand that black people would become considered full human beings.
So we are but what do you do? I don't know. What do you do with that? I mean, you get up on a nightly newscast and you're like, top story tonight, the person who's president came in second. Just want to remind y'all about that because that's what we're living.
But so
that's a problem.
So now. But once again, and we talk about it on the air, the American marketing scheme, right? One of the biggest things that I think, other than him being an asshole, I believe he's a racist. I believe he's a white supremacist. Donald Trump is who I'm talking about. And I believe all those things. One of the biggest things, well, there's a couple things, but one of the biggest things that I think he's fucking up is the fact that people do not want to come to America because you're an asshole, sir. And so one of the things of America was like, yo, the world wants to come here, man. Like, send your kids here, man, to school.
Just 2 years ago, it felt that way.
Right?
Now you travel.
People are like, yeah, nah, the mass shooting thing, yeah. This guy's a dick. Yeah, nah, I don't want to come. And oh, by the way, if I live in a very affluent country, why the fuck do I want to come to America? Even Donald Trump said it. Why do we want all these people from shithole countries to come here? They're the only ones that want to come, bro. Nobody else wants to come, and you're a dick for not making everyone else feel comfortable. You're fucking up the real marketing scheme, the real money.
Well,
the real piece of America is the fact that the world wants to come here and make money, and when they don't, we're in trouble. I mean, I believe we're seeing the beginnings of that trouble.
Well,
right
immigration is
now.
practically under attack. So if you're by nature saying we no longer want your people here, in fact, we're going to try our best to get rid of you. Yeah, of course, your popularity now and the idea that people want to come here. The guy's saying he doesn't want us.
Right. Whereas America's creed used to be, we need more people.
Right. Exactly. And that's how we
As a reference.
wait, you need more people?
Yeah.
We don't believe you.
You need more people. Got it.
He got the reference.
No, I said the same thing.
No, did you not get the If
Oh.
you didn't get the reference, you could just tell us.
No. How dare you?
But I don't know, and I don't think people want.
You know what? I was at that
combo
I
you
was
were
out of
just
line.
having?
You were.
I was out of line.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
Don't
Come to
attack
my
my
house.
guy. Don't attack my guy.
I was
You
out
come
of
to
line.
This is Ebro in the morning, not Ari Melber in the morning. All right, you understand? You have a night show. You come on at 6.
But you know
MSNBC.
that in the Jewish families,
Yeah.
who you mess with is who you love the most.
Oh, thank you.
So you don't love me? I'm Jewish.
Facts.
No, but you know that.
But you don't love me. I'm Jewish.
I love you both.
You don't love me.
I love you.
Well,
both.
he just met you today.
I just guilty.
Yeah, you can make me feel bad. He's gonna send you an email later. He's like, I'm really sorry. I don't want to make you feel.
No, I met him. We actually met at the Black Panther.
Yes, sir.
the big-
Wham, the big one.
Yeah.
Did you love Black Panther?
Oh my God, I did. I actually felt I had that Hamilton feeling where people I know were. You're gonna love this. It's so great,
Yep.
and you're gonna love it. And I had that. I
know.
recoil from that because with Hamilton, years ago, people were like, "All right, you're into the law and constitutional history, and also this is a rap musical." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, a
You
rap
must have
musical."
gotten it
I was like, "Yeah, that sounds really hot. Like, I gotta go see the rap musical on Broadway."
And
Like,
not to mention the people who were telling it to you were like your parents' friends.
Exactly.
And
This
you're
was
like,
when it was
this
at
is not
it
who
was
I-
at the what's it called the public.
Yes.
Yeah, so people were like, and you're into they take the founders and they turn it into a rapper musical, and the rappers are doing, and they're having the debate over the Hamilton's bank, and I was like, this sounds like whack.
Yo,
I
it's so
can't-
true. The description of Hamilton makes it sound like one of the worst things of all time.
No, really, like those things that are so cringeworthy, where you're like, I'm uncomfortable and whatever. And then I went and it blew me away, and that's how I felt about Black Panther. It
Right.
was. To me, it was educational. It was exciting. It was inspirational. It made me feel. It made me feel. So I was.
You know, a lot of people saying the same thing about your Spotify playlist.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It makes them
a lot of
feel.
people going. I didn't expect, I didn't know, and then they heard it. And I looked at the whole playlist. How do people find it, by the way?
Here we go.
Thank you for asking. So this interview, a Hot 97, which is an honor to be here. It's a dream. As someone who's listened to you guys and Hot 97 for 15 years, it is a dream to even be here.
Oh, that's really cool.
And so thank you for having me on too. I am launching the Spotify playlist for our news show, The Beat. On your show, you go on Spotify, you search The Beat with Ari Melber or search The Beat Melber. We're launching it in this interview. It's brand new.
Hand me the paper.
Pretty good.
Here we saw this list.
I have a question for you. You have great songs, by the way. But
Thank you.
what is tell me, what is it about the Brett and Tyrese?
Hold on. You set that up. You set that up wrong.
That you're so passionate
Well,
about.
but hold on, because
I just want to know. Maybe he has a personal connection to
Well,
it.
let's be true. Let's start from the beginning, though. Is that I looked at the playlist in the room and I went, "Great playlist." Don't understand how he took the Brat and Tyrese and put this on this playlist. Sorry, Laura.
We
now.
played it in the room.
Laura
Which
loves it too.
Which
was
song are we
shimmy,
talking
I was
about?
That's what I like.
What do you
What's
like?
Or is that not your choice?
Yeah, of course. What's wrong with that?
I hate it.
He hates it, but I just want to know: do you have? What's your connection
because
to
of
it?
the
Why do you love it? Like,
There's just it's just so cheesy to me. It's just
What do you like?
It's Tyrese, baby.
Hey, Tyrese has had enough problems out here. We don't need you slandering
It's
him.
just that came out short. You probably remember this shortly after Montel Jordan's "Get It On Tonight." And it's the same sample, and the "Get It On Tonight" I thought was done so much better than the Brat and Tyrese. And
Totally fair. Great point. First of all, for listeners, I wouldn't say that song's representative of a lot of what's
It's
going
not.
on
That's
the
why I
playlist.
called it
Well,
out.
and I would also say that it's very diverse. Everything from Kiko Bun, if you know that, out in the UK, all
you
the
got
way
a
to
little Far Side in there?
James Brown, Dilated Peoples, Gangstar. I mean, listen, DMX is on here.
It's a great playlist.
Lauryn Hill, Phony People on here. He's doing his
okay.
New York research there. Billie Eilish, a new artist that I'm surprised to see on here. Album cuts from Lil Wayne.
get a little Fugees.
Kali Uchis, another new artist. I mean, obviously B.I.G., Hove, Mace, Wu-Tang, Kanye, 50, A$AP Rocky. I mean, the second record on the playlist. Did you do these in any particular order or not?
I did them in order.
Order of
Order of My Hope. This you go on Spotify, The Beat with Ari Melber. You put this playlist on. You start with I Hope. People that can inspire us,
The
like
Truth, Beanie Siegel.
Beanie
is the
Siegel,
first
The
record.
Truth is right in first track.
record. That's
Yeah.
a great choice. Great
Third
choice.
record,
The
you
Truth.
and
Every
NXY.
time I step in the booth.
But then the lighters go up. So tell us, after you tell the truth, lighters go up.
Then your lighters go up, Lil Kim. And I wanted to start also very consciously with, in
but
my
you're not
mind,
lighting up after you tell the truth or during telling of the truth.
He doesn't tell you what
depends
to
on
do.
the person. In Rasta in the Rasta tradition, the circle is part of a deeper consciousness of truth. So I think it would depend on the person.
There you
Wow.
go. Cipher
Super-
sounds. Sound of sight.
Big
But-
facts.
And then Queen Latifah. So we set
UNITY.
beanies.
And then the sun comes out when you after you unify.
Yes.
Sunshine, most deaf.
Right. So it's starting. My hope is if you put that on at 8 p.m. at night and you're starting, you're feeling some thoughts, some inspiration, some truth, and then from there we build to
Well, then
partying.
he gets to track
It takes you the whole
five.
way
He gets
through.
to track 5 after the sunshine. Then he starts stunting with KRS. MCs act like they don't know.
which some of them do.
Right. Sometimes they act like
Some
they
of
don't
them
know.
do act like
Big
they don't know.
facts.
And then Tupac. And then
Some of them don't know.
He gets positive. He tells people to keep the head up. Right
And
there.
then he gets high again with the Lost Boys at track 8 with Music Makes Me
Well, it's
High.
Music Makes Me
There's
High.
some subliminals in here, bro.
Well, off the beautiful album Legal Drug Money.
Well, I love Legal Drug Money.
Legal
And
Drug Money, which is I believe still probably an underappreciated album.
incredibly.
Well, speaking of legal
What
drug
are
money, pharmaceuticals.
No, we're good.
sorry.
I'm good.
Thank you for honestly, it's thank you for thank
You
you
don't want to go opioids?
No.
No.
I
thank
think
you
we're
for
good.
taking my
Okay.
playlist seriously.
No, I do.
I appreciate that. I mean, that means a lot to me. And if you read the top here,
It's
we
tight.
wrote on the top, we even consider calling this a mixtape, but we will leave that level of ambition to Drake.
There
It
you
says
go.
that right at the top.
There you go.
Got
Well,
it.
Drake's last album was just a playlist, though.
Playlist.
I know. No, playlist or mixtape, they call it like that. And I was like, what is a playlist?
What is-
With your-
and
with
what
your
And by the
album?
way, what is a mixtape?
What is a mixtape?
Because it's definitely not mixed and it's not a tape.
Nope.
Correct. And I made on tape cassette. I used to make cassette mixtapes. So for
Pause
me,
tape? Were they pause tapes or you actually had 2 turntables? Like
no, pause tape.
You just pause
Called
and start the next
mixtapes
song.
also.
A big debate when I was growing up when we would make each other mixtapes was, do you stop before the last song so you don't cut it off in the middle
Dog,
because
what a-
that's
it's a
so
huge-
wrong.
it's a huge
And other
thought.
people are like, well, if there's a 2.5 minutes left on the tape anyway, like why not have that be filled with music and flip it? And I was always old like traditionalist. No, like,
It ends.
It ends on silence. You flip it over. You rewind a little bit. You don't cut a song off in the
What
middle.
was the type of Walkman that flipped automatically? What
Auto
was that?
reverse?
Oh,
Yeah,
I remember when that
but
came
the
out.
auto
That
reverse.
came out. I'm talking pre-auto reverse.
pre-auto
I
reverse.
do. Then when that came out, everyone was like, "This is over. This problem's over."
I do love that the term mixtape doesn't refer to a mix or a tape. You could literally say any word you want. It could be
nothing.
called clown penis. You could be like, oh, well, I make you a dope clown penis. It has nothing to do with what the actual product is.
But we
I
on
want
the
to know why
beat
you had penis on the brain, but that's something
It's
else.
an old SNL skit. Don't worry.
on the beat we dropped the playlist. It's the first of maybe more if people like it, and we're a show that has music as part of the news as well. Not only in the references, but we've had artists on. We had Stretch and Bobbito do a takeover
that's
of
tight.
Fallback Friday last week. We had French Montana on.
That's why French was on MSNBC.
Correct.
I was like, what the hell? Who allowed French on MSNBC? And what is he talking about? But he was talking about his charity.
He was talking about his charity, and he was also talking about immigration. We were showing the video. Look, it's like some of our viewers haven't seen, his videos. So we're showing, oh, here you are in Uganda. Here you are in Morocco. Here's your immigration story, right? And I think we talk about immigration so much. He is a legal immigrant, blah blah blah. But like that was good for our
Well, and
viewers.
also so many people are overlooking the problem that French people in Montana are having in this country.
And that's an important point.
And that's the thing is like they're trying to get to Montana out of Montana. It's a difficult situation.
Ari, it was a pleasure. We hope to
Thank
have you
you.
back too.
Yeah, we're gonna just call you
Yeah,
up when
come
some
back.
big issues
What
pop
time you
off.
wake up in the morning?
I will get up anytime to do your show anytime. So now I would love to
So
anytime.
like we see some big news breaking at 6:40.
Call Ari.
We'll call Ari. Boom.
you call you call
Call
my
your
people.
Got you.
We can't call you direct.
Damn, I thought
Well,
she was gonna give us that direct.
No, because then you want to confirm it. But I would love to come on anytime, and I'd love to have you guys on to do. This is an open invite, so it's a public invite.
All right.
I'd love to have you guys do an Ebro in the morning 3-person takeover of Fallback Friday.
Let's do it.
Done. Say no more.
What happens on Fallback Friday? What do we?
On Fallback Friday, which is a segment we do every Friday, 6 p.m. on the beat on MSNBC. Like I mentioned, Stretch and Bobbito came on.
Yeah.
All you have to come on with is who do you think needs to fall back that week?
Okay.
And the only rule is you cannot pick Trump because we talk about him enough.
Okay,
Gotcha.
I got it.
Okay,
That's
fair
pretty
enough.
What's your budget?
Hey, listen, Ebro, it'll all work out as long as it's God's plan. You know what I'm saying? We'll all come together.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Ari.
Ari Melber, MSNBC
This was
every
a
night,
dream.
6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Come on, man.